Well, the Vulgarian-in-chief Donald Trump became the first president in history yesterday to use his middle finger publicly to respond to someone who said something he didn't like. Donald Trump's fingers first came to public attention when Graydon Carter and Kurt Andersen coined the term short-fingered vulgarian to describe Donald Trump in their coverage of him in Spy magazine in the 1980s. Graydon Carter had come away from an interview with Donald Trump struck by the unusual tininess of Donald Trump's fingers attached to such a large body. And now, against his much larger body, the finger he raised yesterday looks even smaller. In a campaign debate during Donald Trump's first presidential campaign in 2016, he became the first presidential candidate in history to decide to publicly defend the size of his penis after Marco Rubio had publicly made fun of Donald Trump's fingers.
He's always calling me Little Marco. And I don't think the guy he's taller than me is like 6'2", which is why I don't understand why his hands are the size of someone who's 5'2". Have you seen his hands? They're like this. And you know what they say about men with small hands? You can't trust them. You can't trust them.
And at that next debate, Donald Trump defended his appendages this way.
He hit my hands. Nobody has ever hit my hands. I've never heard of this one. Look at those hands. Are they small hands? And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee it.
Donald Trump had no idea that the problem on display in that moment was his tiny brain and his unrelenting vulgarity. And drawing attention to his fingers once again yesterday, in giving the finger to an auto worker, I was struck once again by Graydon Carter's observation of just how tiny that finger is, that he aimed so bravely at that auto worker far away from him in that Ford factory. Here is that video of Donald Trump in his role as short-fingered Vulgarian-in-chief walking through a factory. The Washington Post reports TJ Sabula, a 40-year-old United Auto Workers Local 600 line worker at the factory, told the Post that he was the one who shouted at Trump. Ford Motor Company, apparently in an effort to lose sales from coast to coast, suspended that worker pending an investigation. TJ Sabula told the Post that he had, quote, definitely no regrets whatsoever. Today, the United Auto Workers said in a statement, the auto worker at the Dearborn truck plant is a proud member of a strong and fighting union, the UAW. He believes in freedom of speech, a principle we wholeheartedly embrace, and we stand with our membership in protecting their voice on the job. The UAW will ensure that our member receives the full protection of all negotiated contract language, safeguarding his job and his rights. As a union member, workers should never be subjected to vulgar language or behavior by anyone, including the President of the United States. The Washington Post reports a cell phone video captured Trump, who was visiting the Ford F-150 plant in Dearborn, twice mouthing F you as he pointed to someone calling up to him from the factory floor below. Out of frame in the video, a person can be heard yelling, pedophile protector, just before Trump mouthed the insult. Sabula identifies as politically independent and said he never voted for Trump, but has supported other Republicans. He estimated that he was roughly 60 feet away from Trump on Tuesday and that the president could hear him, quote, very, very, very clearly. He said he was specifically referencing Trump's handling of the Epstein matter. I don't feel as though fate looks upon you often, and when it does, you better be ready to seize the opportunity, Sabula said. And today, I think I did that. And apparently, America agrees. 2 GoFundMe accounts launched to, quote, support TJ and help him pay some bills have raised over $809,000 in less than 24 hours, at which point TJ Sabula issued a statement saying, "We greatly appreciate the outpouring of support. At this time, we are closing donations to this campaign and encourage you to look for other causes and organizations to support. We appreciate every single donation, comment, share, and sign of support." And so factory workers around the country have now been alerted to how easy it is to get a payoff from an encounter with Donald Trump without going through any of the agony porn star Stormy Daniels had to go through to get her $130,000 from Trump. I don't feel as though fate looks upon you often, and when it does, you better be ready to seize the opportunity. TJ Sabula seized history. TJ Sabula provided future historians with a vivid look at who Donald Trump really is. TJ Sabula's contribution to history is a valuable reveal to future historians about just how small a man Donald Trump is, how weak he is, how uncontrollable his vulgarity is. Presidents throughout history have been yelled at, shot at. They've been called murderers and war criminals to their faces. They've had their sleep disrupted by protesters outside the White House at night. They've had shoes thrown at them. And not one of those presidents gave anyone the finger. When an assassin's bullet missed Franklin Roosevelt and hit the mayor who was beside him, he did not turn and give the finger to anyone. George W. Bush ably ducked those shoes and never considered giving the finger to anyone. No president would allow the presidency to sink that low until Donald Trump. And in giving that little finger yesterday, Donald Trump created a national hero who takes his place in history now with more dignity than Donald Trump has ever mustered. When Donald Trump walks by, everyone in America has a First Amendment right to say, "Pedophile protector." When Donald Trump walks by, everyone in America has a right to say whatever they want. And only Donald Trump among our presidents could decide to make a factory worker who criticizes him world famous and a bit richer by Donald Trump indulging his childish anger and delivering a childish public performance of Trumpian vulgarity.